Welcome, AJ. We're on the BTS Creative Academy podcast. We're currently at the Romford Film Festival, which you've showcased your film here, Infidelity.
Infidelity, yeah.
Yes. So, AJ, do you like to be called AJ?
Yeah, my name's Ajitpal, but my friends call me AJ, so that's totally fine.
Okay. So, tell me a little bit about your movie.
So, my movie is called Infidelity. It's a crime thriller, and the idea kind of came about. I heard a story about a middle-aged woman hiring a private investigator to investigate her husband in real life. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, I was like, I can't believe that private investigators still exist. I thought it was just something you'd see in the movies, like Chinatown, or like in the 1940s, like film noir movies, but it was a real thing. And I thought that'd be a really interesting idea for a short film. And so I started writing a script about a private investigator. And I had this image about photos being dropped in front of the kind of the lead, mm-hmm. and the private investigators dropping the photos one by one, showing him his partner's infidelity. So instead of like the film starting with him trying to find a private investigator, trying to like see if his partner's cheating, I was like, let's start right in the action. Let's start with the photographs being dropped and what is he going to do with that information. Mm-hmm. And so that was the start of the movie. And the next 30 minutes is a 30-minute movie. And the next 30 minutes is him trying to like take this information in, and how is he going to deal with it? Is he going to confront her? Is he going to take some other action? And so that's how the movie kind of pans out.
So this is a short movie?
Yeah, short film.
Short film. And what's the purpose of the movie for you? Is this kind of like a showcase of your talents as a writer, director, or is it a piece within itself?
To be honest, it's quite deliberate in terms of for my career, trying to like get me on the trying to showcase my talents basically. So during the pandemic, so I had like a little filmmaking break. So I used to make like short comedy sketches even when I was as young as 15 with my best friend Warren, and we used to use like a iToy, which was a PS2 webcam kind of Nintendo Wii kind of early stage for PlayStation. Oh, right, okay. And one time I went over to his house and he was like, okay, let me show you something. He put the webcam there, and then he told me to stand in kind of in front of him, and then he told me to leave that space, and then he edited it together on Windows Movie Maker to make it seem like I disappeared, right? And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, this is amazing. What was that feeling when you was amazed? Was there something that like really resonated with you then? I think it was actually the process of filmmaking. I think it was like, you can take two shots and just create something like magical out of it. And the way that he was editing it, he did it quite quickly because he was quite used to what he was doing by that point. And so he kind of introduced me to this, and I was really fascinated about doing like sketches, especially when you're like a teenager, comedy sketches. So we started off like doing like Little Britain. Remember Little Britain, the BBC TV show? Kind of doing like a satire on that, and trying to copy Andy and Lou and stuff, and some of the like more famous characters from that show. And we kind of showcased it to friends, and they found it funny. They wanted us to make more, so we did. But then I did my GCSEs, and that kind of like went to the side a bit. But I was always interested in filmmaking. Like when I was 17, 18, 19, I was still going on like summer courses, trying to like keep in touch with the latest technology. So when you said about your GCSEs, you're sort of putting it to one side. Did you not really see it as like a career, something that you would be doing in the future, or? I think at the time it was more fun. You just enjoyed playing with cameras, and right. But also like I really enjoyed movies since I was a kid. I think one of my favorite movies is The Lion King from '94, and because I was born in '89, I was like 4 or 5 years old. So it was a good time. It was kind of my first memory. Yeah. And then films such as Toy Story came out around that time, Aladdin, and so I was really interested in movies when I was a kid. Anyway, so I remember my dad showed me Terminator 2 when I was like 11. Yeah. And it just amazed me that how like high paced. That was a film for me that really drew me into filmmaking. Yeah. Such a great film. And so I was exposed to these films. I remember my dad recorded Alien for me when I was 10. And it was on like a VCR, which was like not the best VCR. So I was playing it back. Everything was super dark, but there was so much mystery around the alien. I remember telling my dad after the film, like, I hardly saw the alien. Right, and he was like, but that's the beauty of it. Yes, like you don't see it, so it becomes so scary. Similar to like how it was for Jaws.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was always interested in films since I was a kid, and then filmmaking through that kind of experience with my mate Warren. But I took, because I was really good at maths and science, I kind of went down that route and did a degree in maths. But still, the short film stuff was on my mind. I'd make like little artistic films when I was in uni. Even after uni, I got like a small camcorder and made a film. But they weren't really watchable. Like I would never release them.
And still at this point, it was just a case of you were playing with movie making.
Yeah.
You were just having fun with it.
I think by that time I was like, maybe I can kind of do this. Maybe I want to be a director. But especially as a British Asian, right, trying to like be a director is like not realistic, or we're always encouraged to go into like medicine or engineering or accountancy and stuff like that.
From where? Is that from family?
I think it's like more of a cultural thing.
Okay.
And it's kind of like the safe job, and get married, raise a family, and stuff like that. And I was, even though I do want that, it's not, that wasn't really my priority. I was like, this is my passion, and I really want to do that. And then I think I first started talking to my co-producer Chirag. We were school friends anyway, but not that close. And then I think in about 2014, 2015, I basically contacted him on Facebook. He lived close by anyway, and we're like, he's a photographer. He had like a very like standard DSLR at the time, and I was like, let's get together and make a movie, right? Let's do something. And so we made like a short. That was my first official short film in a way, where I actually released it to the public. And so that in 2015 and 2016, like two short films were my first short films. And then I took a break just to like concentrate on like work and stuff. And during the pandemic, that's when I was like, okay, now I've got, I've earned a bit of money. Chirag has now upgraded on his camera stuff. Let me try again, but now let me like properly try film festivals, etc., etc. So that's where we are now.
So those first two movies, what were a big takeaway from them? What did you learn by making those movies?
I learned that on a low budget, I can tell a story and edit it and do it well. But I also learned that the quality wasn't there. Like we had no lighting. We were using natural light. Our sound wasn't the best. We didn't use a boom mic. We used a camera audio. And making small mistakes like that, you just know the next time we're gonna like make something better, because we know this time, get at least like a small powerful light, a panel light or anything that can make the scene look better. For some reason, the entire first short film that I shot was very creamy and yellow, because light was reflecting off the walls. Right, okay. And it just came out super yellow, and I was like, this is weird. It doesn't look like a Hollywood movie. What's going on? But then I did some courses in the summer, and I could kind of tell, okay, this is what we need if I do this properly. So Infidelity is a second short film of this second round. Okay. I made a film called Joggers as well 2 years ago, and that did quite well actually. So it won a few awards. It went to a couple of film festivals, and it got like hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. Okay. And that's when I kind of knew that, okay, I'm doing something right here, because people are responding to it.
Well, and so you got quite a large number of views, but what was the kind of feedback then? What was the kind of response from people? What were people saying to you?
People like Joggers. They were saying that it was a clever kind of short film. It had a good twist in it, a twist they didn't really see coming. The soundtrack was good. The acting was okay and decent. So there were still areas of improvement, but because story is so important to me, I know people really like story as well, because the story was good and had a good twist. They were like, okay, cool, like this looks like you can actually do something here. And then with Infidelity, we basically took that same team, different actors, and kind of took it up one level. And so the lighting was better, the color grading was better, the soundtrack was better. It was a longer movie, and so that's where I am at the moment. So I've just got to that point where I can make a 29-minute short film.
And where are you at with this movie? Are you on the festival circuit at the moment, going to different festivals?
Right. So I think I'm about less than halfway through the festival circuit at the moment. A lot of the major festivals happen from May onwards. because of the summer. And so Infidelity has won a few awards at the award film festivals earlier on in the year. Romford Film Festival is probably the first major film festival it's got into. But there's probably around 15 to 20 other film festivals up until the end of the year. So some smaller ones, some larger ones, which I hope to get into, but it's really unrealistic.
Why is it unrealistic?
The reason it's unrealistic is because it's just sheer numbers. Like, for example, Sundance will get hundreds of thousands of entries, but only choose 300 short films, and then, you know, a few hundred.
So what's the process? You put yourself into the festivals, and then you hope that you get picked?
Yeah, so there's a website called Film Freeway, and that's kind of like has become the host of all the film festivals, and all the film festivals say you can submit via that website, and it goes through their processes. Some festivals, such as Cannes or let me think, Venice, for example, don't use Film Freeway, so you have to go through their own.
You go direct.
Yeah, direct. And so it's just one of those where you enter it. There's a notification date, and so they have like maybe 3-4 people watch your movie, and if they think it's up to standard or if it's on theme, because some film festivals have a theme, they will pick it. And sometimes it doesn't mean that your film is not good, or it might just not fit the theme. I remember I entered into the UK Asian Film Festival thinking because I was Asian I would get in. But I remember I entered Infidelity, and it turned out the theme was something to do with like the environment or something, and Infidelity has nothing to do with the environment. Exactly. So I should have probably read that before I entered it, but it was only like a £10-20 entry thing. And so obviously didn't get in. But for Romford, I did get in. So
what's the hope and the dream for this film, Infidelity? What do you hope comes of it?
I think really I just want it to be seen at film festivals, online eventually. Hopefully, I mean, it's won some awards already, but hopefully win a couple of more awards. It's more of a showcase. Like, look, I'm here. Like, I'm a director and I make short films. And the eventual goal is to prove that and make my way into feature films, maybe in a year or two time. So that's kind of the goal with these short films, is to build a portfolio where you can say, look, I can do this. Now let me, direct a feature, or even like self-fund a feature, and see where I go on from there.
What would your ideal feature look like then? What kind of feature film do you want to make? Is there a feature film that's been out? We talked about like Aliens and those films of your childhood. Is that the kind of film that you would like to ideally make going forward?
I think eventually. I think right off the bat, in the first 2 or 3 short feature films, it's going to be quite hard to make like a sci-fi epic or like a fantasy epic. I'd probably go first feature film, second feature film, like a crime thriller similar to Lock, Stock or Snatch, or like Memento, where it's a relatively small film, but it's clever, it's got witty dialogue, and can be the stepping stone to the larger movies. I can't see myself like making a Transformers one day. Like, that's just not what I'm interested in. I'd rather make a Heat with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, 1995. I'm a huge James Bond fan, so that's what I
hear they're making Heat 2 at the moment.
Yeah,
so maybe that you could be directing that.
Well, I think Michael Mann's going to direct that.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's a prequel. Right. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I'd be interested to see it because he did really well in Heat. But yeah, I mean, I'm a huge James Bond fan as well, and so if one day I could make a James Bond film, it would be great. That's probably the largest type of film that I'd really want to go for eventually. But that's I would say decades away, maybe. And
always within directing, or is there a writer in you that's trying to come out as well?
No, I'm a writer-director, so yes. I prefer what I've seen from the kind of like statistics is that I feel that writer-directors are better directors overall, because there's no miscommunication between the writer and director. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of movies where someone else has written it and someone else has directed it, and it's been really good. But in my experience, people like Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino write and direct their own movies, and their movies are some of my favorites. And I think it's because they know exactly what they want. So I've written and produced so I can direct basically. But I actually do like to write as well. So there's definitely a writer in me, but I'm probably primarily a director. If someone gave me a good script and asked me to direct it, and it was a good script, I would definitely do it. If it was a bad script, and I've seen some, I actually had a chance to direct a feature film end of last year. But when I saw the concept and the script, I was like, this is probably not the best decision to make, because I think as a director, if you make one really, really bad movie, and I think it was going to be that type of movie, it could ruin your career in a sense.
We have to be picky to protect ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
We can't just say yes to everything that comes our way. And sometimes that can be hard if you're with friends involved and things like that. Or even if someone sees something in you, it might not necessarily suit who you are and your vision that you can bring to it.
I have rejected a short film idea once. It was about a cultural thing, which was something I didn't really know much about, and obviously you want to take the opportunity. But I remember talking to the person who wanted to, ask me to write a screenplay and to direct it, and I was just like, I probably am not the right person to do this, because I probably couldn't give it justice. And maybe my interest levels would wane because it wasn't something I was interested in. So, which is why I feel the writing, directing route is stronger for me, because I think I'll write what I want to write, and then I'll end up directing that. But if someone gave me the script for The Departed and was like, please make this film, I would definitely do it.
Then you wouldn't just turn that one down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
you can tell, can't you, when you pick up that script, if it resonates with you or not.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't resonate, why should you put the work in? Because it won't be true to yourself, will it?
Yeah.
So if a new filmmaker came to you and said, AJ, could you give me some advice starting out? I want to make a couple. I've been making these movies like you did when you was at school, but my family are telling me to go in a different direction. What would you say to them?
It depends how old they are. Let's say they were a teenager. I would say do both. You can do both. I even had that dilemma when my day job is a data analyst, and I think in 2019, 2020, I was telling a friend that I really want to do this filmmaking thing, and I can do data analysis, like I can earn money from it, but it doesn't it's not my passion. It doesn't excite me every day. And there are some things in data which are exciting. Don't get me wrong, but it's just the bug for filmmaking is so strong. And that friend just said, well, why don't you do both? Just work your arse off basically to do both, right? 9 to 5, do your data job, and then 5 to 9 or whatever, write a script and do your thing. And so I took that piece of advice. It was a really good piece of advice, and that's what I did basically. So I was working 9 to 5, and then I would get off one computer, go on the other computer, and start writing a screenplay or continuing with planning for production. Just keep I would say just keep your eye on it, even if you're doing something else. Or if you think that's what you want to do 100%, then just be brave and go for it. The best thing to do is to expose yourself as much as you can to sets. I remember before we started Joggers, I went on a big nasty music video just as a BTS person. So my cinematographer told me to come along and just take a camera and just do BTS on a big nasty music video in Canary Wharf, and I was like, cool, I'll just take the opportunity. And I learned a lot just by being around in terms of organization, what can go wrong. I think what happened on that day was the lift broke, so we had to carry all the equipment down from a penthouse to the parking. And I was loving it. Everyone was saying, oh, AJ probably doesn't want to do this ever again because he has to carry all this down the stairs. But I was literally loving every second. I was like, it's so cool.
Yeah, why did you love it? What was so cool about it?
I just think I was just grateful to be in that situation anyway, because it's something I wanted to do. Even the other day, on Friday when my film screened, I was just so grateful, because I knew this is something that I wanted for a long time. And so being in any kind of film making situation excites me in a sense. A quick story, in 2019, I got tickets to see Andy Serkis's screening for his film Breathe, and I was in the front row watching Breathe, a 2017 film with Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy, and Andy Serkis did a Q&A afterwards, and I asked him a question. I was super nervous. My friend John was with me at the time, and I just remember after that meeting Andy Serkis. He was such a nice guy, giving me good advice, and basically 4 or 5 years later, I'm basically giving a Q&A, and John's in the audience. I'm like, this is what I was talking about 4 or 5 years ago when I was like, one day I want to be on stage and do a Q&A.
So what did you ask Andy Serkis? What did you ask him?
I think it was like a technical film question. I can't actually remember why I asked him. I just remember my heart was beating, and I was just like, I don't want to mess this up. Will you understand what I'm saying? It was something technical about one of the shots, and then he was talking about that. It was just an excuse, basically, to ask him a question. To
engage with someone that you look up to and admire. And do you remember what you said he gave you some advice afterwards? Do you remember what he said to you at that time?
He would just like keep going. Like there's no. I was kind of saying stuff like, I'm in my early to mid 30s now. I feel like I'm a bit behind, and he was just like, never think that everyone's on their own timeline. Just because Tarantino won an Oscar at 31 and you haven't, it doesn't mean that your career is moot. Like you can still like Ridley Scott started in his 40s directing films, and just keep going. Like just every day try to do one thing which will contribute towards that. And it was a good piece of advice. And we got a picture, and a picture I hated because it was like from a bad angle. And so I'd still look at that picture sometimes just to remember it, but at the same time I'm just like, oh, I look so bad in this photo.
Yes, that's really interesting, because you also mentioned about that just on when you did Joggers and you went into Infidelity. It was just about being just that 1% better than before.
Yeah.
And so you really did take that advice on, and you just keep. And it sounds to me like you just keep moving forward on this path. So a hypothetical question for you now. We look 5 years into the future, and we find you on the set of James Bond directing that movie.
Yeah.
Would you have any advice to keep him on the right track?
To keep that future me?
Future you, that AJ, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think... I mean, a James Bond movie in 5 years is quite...
you never.
Partly because they don't make them as much anymore.
No, of course. So it'd be the next one, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I would probably, I don't know. I would just say, you've made it this far. Just remember where you were, even 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. I would probably believe it. Let's say you said it was in 10 years. I may believe that in terms of where I am now and in 10 years' time. And I think that's a closer distance than where I was from now compared to, like, let's say 2015. In the sense that...
How far you've travelled since 2015, that how far you could go 10 years from now into 2035, what that could look like, that is a possibility that you could look forward and move in that direction.
And it's a possibility not because, I made like a huge jump. It was little increments.
Yes.
Every month, every year, just learning new things. Like sometimes I go on YouTube and I just watch like a filmmaking channel, and they'll just be talking about the most random thing, like speed of editing. And it just fascinates me. I just can't stop watching them. No. I got to remind myself to stop watching them and actually do something sometimes, because you can get stuck in the kind of doom scrolling of YouTube and just like, everything's on YouTube really. You can learn all kinds of stuff on YouTube. Yeah,
no, and I think there's some valuable information out there that I've learned a hell of a lot from watching YouTube. Everything I'm doing now, I didn't learn this at any school. I learned my interviewing skills from YouTube, and I think that's a great thing that we've got access to that now, that you don't necessarily have had to have gone through a schooling process to learn something. The information, that's one of the beautiful things about the internet, isn't it? Yeah, the information is readily available to you now, that if you want to learn something, you can do it.
And it's really improved in the last 10 to 15 years, especially with like obviously broadband, but also content being a thing. I think if I do remember correctly, in 2009, if I was trying to find which film festivals exist or whatever, it would have been so hard to do. So I remember once I entered a script competition in 2008, and I literally had to like post the script through a post box and just didn't hear anything for like 3-4 months. and now it's so much more efficient.
Yes, yeah.
And that gives you confidence as well, because there's still, there's a notification date on the 17th of February. Before it was like, I don't know what's going to happen with the script. Will the postman lose it? Like, it could be as simple as that. But the technology's really improved as well.
Yeah.
Even like editing platforms, uploading speed, like these little things do make a difference. So I would say now more than ever, it's a good time to start anything, filmmaking, podcasts, etc.
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. I do feel like we're living in there's a lot of bad things going on in the world, but there is also a lot of good things going on in the world. And especially if you're a creative, there are tools out there to help you do the thing that you want to do, isn't there?
That's true.
So we should, we're in a moment where we can embrace those things.
That is true.
So this has been really nice having this chat with you. But getting back to your film that you're promoting at the moment, if anyone wanted to catch up or try and find your film, is the film out there on like the internet anywhere that people could see it, or is it just in the festival process right now?
Yeah, so I would say right now it's just in the festival process. There is a private YouTube link, which I probably will release when the festival circuit is over, so nearer the end of the year. But if you know me, just hit me up and I'll send you the private link.
You want people to see
this
movie?
I don't mind people.
And what do you think? What do you hope the main thing your audience will get from watching this film?
I just hope they're entertained. And I mean, I watched the film in the cinema the other day, right? And it was on the biggest screen I've ever seen it, and the surround sound was amazing. I was watching it myself, having like edited it and watched it a million times. And I just thought to myself, oh my God, this is so intense right now. Like, it was intense on TV or intense on like your phone or on an editing platform. But just the sound was blaring in my ears. I was like, oh my God, this is like so intense. I hope I'm not scaring people. But at the same time, I want people to like, have a good reaction to it. A few people came to me after the screening, people I don't know, were like, I really like that film, well done. So that's a good thing. But I just hope that they're entertained, even if they don't like a concept in the film or whatever, as long as like it gives them time to think about something in their life or in general, that's always a good thing.
Tell me a little bit about that, the thinking. What kind of thing do you hope they'd consider?
So, I mean, each film is different. I normally have interesting themes in my movies. So, narcissism was a theme in Infidelity, emotional abuse, financial abuse. And sometimes it's hard for people in those situations to actually know that they're in that situation. But sometimes if you see it in front of you in a screen, right, and you can see, okay, actually, well, this is quite similar to my situation, and hopefully that will, help them to think about different things. In Joggers, for example, there was a kind of a theme about a man who looked like he was chasing a woman, right, and in that film, obviously I don't want to reveal the twist, but something happened, and it really made people think about how they thought about gender roles, for example. I saw one comment on the YouTube version of the video where it said, oh, this really made me question my gender bias. And so it's not something I wanted them to do necessarily, like just enjoy the film. But at the same time, if it actually makes you question a few things, then that's good as well.
I guess you're highlighting there really the importance of storytelling, the importance of why we make these films. Yes, there is the entertainment, but maybe it can give you something in your life. Maybe it can add some value or make some change, help you make some change.
And
within these stories.
What I'm really doing is doing what I learned when I was 4 years old and I watched The Lion King, and I was like, wow, this, I mean, as a kid, probably I was just entertained. But when I watched The Lion King when I was like 18 and going through a bit of an identity crisis, and I saw Simba going through that identity crisis, I related to it. And I was like, Simba doesn't want to take the responsibility for his kingdom. He's gone off with his friends, just like having fun, partying, right? And eventually he realizes that, he has to go back and take his place as king. And he shows so much bravery in doing that. So that resonated with me so much. Another film around 2006, which I saw, was Batman Begins. And that's a superhero movie, right? A great superhero movie, but it's still like an entertainment kind of thing. But then Bruce Wayne is going through this identity crisis, right? He doesn't know what he's doing. He goes to Asia, finds himself and comes back as a symbol, Batman. And other people, it's a Batman movie, but for me, for that first hour, I was just enamored by everything that was happening. I was like, this is like me. I feel lost as well. I need something like a symbol or something to like, help me move forward. And so films like that, you might think, okay, it's just an entertainment thing, but it can really help someone who is in a similar kind of thing, a situation. So those two films are, in terms of identity crisis, I mean, I don't have any more, but if there is anyone watching who's a teenager and has that, those two films are great.
And we can even have that in adult life as well, that questioning who are we, what are we doing. I think the midlife crisis is a moment that I've definitely been through and had that moment of...
You don't look old enough. But
I appreciate that, thank you. But yeah, I've had that moment of like, what the hell have I been doing with my life? Like, why things haven't been working, and there were things that were working, but for some reason the negative sometimes outweighs. But yeah, I managed to find a lot of comfort myself within movies and seeing and stories and seeing other people go through struggles.
A good film for that is American Beauty, because that's exactly
midlife crisis.
And so you could say in a sense that films can be a therapy of some sort as well.
Definitely.
So if I'm ever going through a midlife crisis, I'll watch American Beauty and be like, okay, this guy turned his life around, in a sense, and maybe I can do it too.
Yeah. No, and I do think we do have the power, obviously, to turn it around, which I did from my midlife crisis, and and I think movies are an important part of helping us through those stages in our journey.
And so is music. So movies, music.
Yeah, books.
There's different ways to do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, absorb the things out there that have been given to us, and it will help us on our journey. Well, I appreciate this, AJ. Thank you for joining me for this conversation. So the movie's on the circuits at the moment, and you're on Instagram with the movie, Twitter, anywhere like that? Yeah,
so my handle is Ajitpal B, so that's AJITPAL_B, or just go to my website, and I'm sure people like links.
I'll link everything in the comments below.
Yeah, so then you can follow me on my socials and stuff.
Wonderful, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Martin.
Thank you. And if anyone was watching or listening, we appreciate you for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks again, AJ.
Thanks, mate.